Swanky is on a mission to help merchants that want to go international. And today we are covering shipping software, specifically how it can make or break your internationalization success. We're going to dip into this massive topic with Mike, who is UK country manager at Shipstation. Shipstation is a shipping management system that integrates with some of the world's most reliable couriers, important. Plus, Shipstation also integrates with the usual list of leading ERPs to make life that little bit easier at a broader business management level. It's fair to say that we've had a busy year as partners, troubleshooting both Brexit and more general shipping issues, and making sure that Swanky's merchants are navigating cross-border selling as smoothly as possible. So, Mike, hopefully that was enough of a summary of Shipstation. Should we just get started on some key questions?
Sounds good.
Fab. Okay, so numero uno, in the spirit of internationalization. Shipping is naturally a big part of an internationalization plan. Perhaps you could tell us some of the elements that a merchant should be aware of.
So I think when it comes to selling anywhere, the first thing people think of is how can I make my product look as good as possible and put it in as many places as possible for as many people to buy it. And that's always the way that businesses want to focus on growing sales, right? It's the same if they're selling on multiple marketplaces domestically, but also internationally. The kind of afterthought we typically see is shipping and delivery, and the less exciting or the less sexy part of actually your e-commerce journey is that piece. And it kind of occasionally takes people by surprise that actually shipping and delivery is really important. It's as important as making it look great when you sell it. So it's something that really needs to be considered when selling internationally, and taking really good or taking a lot of thought around how the product is going to reach the end customer. So,
sorry, Swanky's touched upon this as well on a couple of other webinars where it's that transactional bond between the customer and the company. And kind of getting the click on the website isn't a done deal. Like, there is a bond and a commitment to then get that product into the customer's hands. So arguably shipping and logistics is it's almost more important than front end.
Absolutely. But no one goes into selling online, particularly in smaller businesses, as they start to grow and thinks, I really want to make my warehouse and my fulfillment process run as smoothly and as brilliantly as possible. It's the secondary thing, and actually they don't kind of set out to make that look beautiful and run beautifully and be really efficient and smooth. And it's the same when you're shipping internationally. It's actually, you really need to think about who's, firstly, which courier is the right one for my product. And that typically, we make recommendations to customers all the time, and that's around, what kind of product is it? Where's it being shipped to? How big is it? When does it need to arrive? All these bits and pieces, and then actually talking to a couple of couriers and making that decision. So, for example, the example I always use is builders merchants. So builders merchants will sell everything and anything of any size. So like right from a bag of screws to a bag of sand. And maybe they won't be selling so much internationally, but I'm sure that some of them will. And they really need to make a call on what's the most effective and efficient way to get that product from my whatever distribution point that is to the customer. It's probably not right to pay for an express next day courier for something like a bag of screws, because you're never going to make any money on that. But at the same time, if you're selling luxury handbags, then the risk of sending it with a courier that's where they don't know the final mile courier, or there may be less trust around that, then there's a higher risk, for example, of that parcel never arriving properly, and that totally destroys any trust that you've built up throughout your sale process, and developing your incredible website and marketing that to new customers. It all let down because the delivery experience is poor, and the customer just feels like, well, I'll just either buy it off a domestic merchant or buy it in store, because the hassle that I've had to go through to actually receive my product 2 weeks late and slightly damaged, it's just not worth it.
Well, let's keep in mind as well that we're in a world where, you know, everyone's we all have to operate online, and certainly with we all have to operate as per Amazon's standards, right? So day delivery is not a breezy bonus anymore. It's it's standard. It's expected. So customers want that level of service and more.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's slightly more give from an international buy, because people are aware that, you know, if I'm getting something from China, that it might be on a sea freight, or it might be stuck in some third-party logistics warehouse for a little while. But yeah, absolutely, if it's just lost in the ether and you paid extra because it's, I don't know, a premium product, or it's something that's needed for a birthday, or, you know, whatever, then it's, you know, it's really important that speedy delivery or communication of that is available to the orders that actually need it. If it's something that, you know, you can wait a little while, then it's fine. But you just have to think, you kind of have to toss that up with the product that's being sold, and make a call on that.
That dovetails quite neatly into how can Shipstation support a merchant with cross-border carrier operations. You've touched upon it a bit there, but perhaps expand upon it, including kind of communications and whatnot, both to the retailer and also to the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of twofold. It's kind of the personal relation or business relationship that you have with the carrier, and then the tech side that we can support with, and we support on both. So Shipstation, obviously, at its core, it's a collection of integrations into where products are sold and carriers when we generate labels, essentially. So it's really important for us to build really good relationships with both of those. And carriers, because, you know, the output of our product is a shipping label, it's really important that we have good relationships with carriers. So what I typically do with retailers who are looking to sell internationally is I'll do a quick breakdown of actually what their product is, where they're looking to sell, etc., and then make that one-to-one introduction to a carrier to say, look, I think that this carrier might be really good for you to get some rates from, and then potentially integrate into our platform. So that's kind of step one. Once you're set up and you're selling internationally and you have your rates with courier X, or, you know, you maybe have two couriers because you want an express and a kind of a slower or a carrier that's better fit with kind of big and bulky, or whatever it is, then it comes down to the automation side. So Shipstation's kind of mission statement is wherever you sell, however you deliver, exceptionally efficient. So the exceptionally efficient part is where can we find savings from a time perspective when generating a shipping label, and that's particularly important when it comes to international, because anyone who's sold internationally knows that you know from pretty much every location now, obviously post Brexit, you need to be filling out certain customs details. You need to be you need to detail who's actually paying customs fees. All of these kind of different bits and pieces over and above the regular communication of, you know, the weight, the destination, the service, etc. So what that ends up being is, if you don't have any automation in there, is, I don't know, 20 odd clicks before you get to one label. And if you're a big retailer and you want to, you know, sell a lot, you don't want to be doing 20 clicks per label. You know, a couple of clicks at most to generate that. And ideally, what we do is have our automation set up so that it's really kind of one click to batch, so you can print off, you know, 100, 200 labels in one go, and then shift them out.
I think that's relevant for kind of the smaller operations as well, because obviously if you've got fewer people, they generally have to wear more hats. So the amount of time that they would spend just generating labels that they could be spending on other parts of the business that can't be automated, then, you know, that pays for itself as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's the classic people, process, technology debate, really. And typically smaller businesses that are scaling will throw people at the problem, basically, and will sometimes hold off on investing in tech, until they get to the point where they realize that they're just dreadfully inefficient or they're drowning in orders. We saw that during the pandemic. People were calling us up because they were staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning, literally just hand writing labels or hand keying in the details, and they were just like in tears basically because demand went up 50 odd %, and they just didn't have the people, and if they tried to recruit people they would have to train them. Actually, just if they'd invested in tech before they got to that problem, when they'd seen that they had a sniffing of that there was a problem there, then they might have solved that problem. They wouldn't have had ended up in tears basically.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, the cost savings of having your team freed up to work on other parts of the business. That's money that could go into marketing spend. That's money that could go into kind of driving an increasing demand, and then getting that conversion over the line, and then fulfillment is already catered for. It kind of pays for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the payoff of top line and bottom line revenue, because if you're protecting your bottom line and protecting those costs, then you can drive top line revenue and focus those people on bringing in new customers rather than trying to deal with the ones that you've already paid a lot of marketing dollars to actually bring through the door. And that's the trade-off.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we're going to touch upon, we said we weren't going to go into it in much detail because it's an entire beast of its own.
Yeah.
We can't get through this without touching upon the B word. So what are the main complications with cross-border selling that Brexit has created for UK merchants?
Brexit is a real headache, as you said, especially for our merchants. And I think Q1, we've seen some real changes. Obviously, it kicked off with there being kind of no deal, and I think it was a slow-moving car crash. Everyone in my area of the e-commerce industry was just looking at it, thinking, surely we're going to get a deal. Surely something's going to happen, and obviously it just turned out that there wasn't, and we weren't really able to get the deal that we thought we would be able to get for cross-border trade, and we had to move quickly to allow merchants to provide the right details to sell into the EU. I was caught out by it. Friends of mine were calling me up saying, "Hey, I'm getting bills from buying from Italy, and is this a scam?" And I was like, "No, this is Brexit. This is just the reality of what we have to do now." But yes, Brexit has just created more paperwork, basically, and cost, and more things that need to be automated. So what we had to do was basically reformat our platform to allow merchants to input the right details into the system, to communicate to the carrier about, this is our EORI number, this is who's paying the duties, etc., to allow people to move quickly. Now, yes, there was issues with carriers, issues at the border. Some carriers turned off their road services into Europe. I know that there was huge amounts of returns from the border, lots of really upset merchants, customers, tech companies. But I think that what we've seen is after the pain of January, it started to settle down. I think it has had a dramatic impact on cross-border trade, which is a real shame for merchants who want to sell internationally. But I think our biggest export market out of the UK is still the US, which there's been no real changes there. So there are still opportunities in Europe and beyond. So it shouldn't. It's not going to destroy cross-border. I think it will slow it down for the short term, and then there will be efficiencies or other, maybe more trade deals, etc., in the future that will help facilitate that to be more smoother.
And that's an opportunity with, pairing up with Shipstation as well, right? So if a company is still experiencing a massive loss, then they can at least try to regain that lost ground by implementing a tool such as Shipstation to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also about looking for new places to sell. We've spoken a lot about carriers today, but Shipstation integrates into a vast amount of selling channels, and having your product in more places for more people to find it is really important. It's hard to keep up with where products are being sold now. It seems like every a social media platform has a shopping plugin as well. and it's just enabling merchants to sell in more places as well as ship with more carriers. I think that's really important to keep up and maybe close the gap on the lost revenue of international. Is just sell more domestically, I guess.
Yeah, and spread the risk, you know, but as you say, kind of in a cost efficient way.
Absolutely.
Wow, I think I feel like we've barely scratched the surface, and honestly, shipping is huge. Like there is an entire week's worth of chats that we could do. But I think we're gonna have to call it a day there. So we've covered some great points, starting to unpick the complexities of moving stock and selling across different borders. Needless to say, huge topic. But you know, for anyone wanting a bit more information, feel free to download our free ebook to get a bit more information on this, and the myriad of other things to think about when looking to go international. But for now, Mike, thank you very much for your time. That was really interesting, and Shipstation is a great partner, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thanks very much.